Alrighty, this is the head off of our XR250R, and we're going to cut the valve seats. And we've got two new valves, two new intake valves, and we are reusing our exhaust valves. Nothing wrong with them. I ain't made of money, you know, so that's what we're doing. We're going to reuse those. First step we're going to do is we're going to come in here and we're going to color in our seats a little bit so we can see exactly what we cut and where. This is just a Sharpie. Doesn't really matter too much if it gets everywhere or not. I'm not a very good colorer, so there you go. And we'll put our guide back in there. It's a 5.5 millimeter guide. First thing we're going to cut is our 60. It's going to be our lowest cut. We're going to make 3 different cuts, a 45, a 60, and a 30. And that's how we're going to end up doing this. So with that in there, we're going to get our adapter in with this thing. And then with very light pressure, we're going to turn this around. That's going to cut the lower portion of our seat. Then we're going to come back in with our 30. Cut the top side. And we can kind of see how much we have left. That's actually going to be our 45. The 45 is what the valve is going to sit on. Cutting the seats here, and next thing we want to do is I want to color this back in with my marker. We got all 3 angles cut. Not sure where I lost the battery. I'm doing this with a GoPro, and apparently GoPros just eat batteries like mad. And it shuts off with no warning. Now we'll take one of our exhaust valves, we'll put it in here. And we want to be able to turn this. We want to see where we're hitting this thing at, where the seat is hitting the valve. That's not too bad. We're just a little high, so I'm going to take just a little bit more off the top, and then we're going to call that good. Get our 30-degree cutter. Cut that just a little bit. And I'm going to color that back in again. Wipe off my valve. Stick him back in here and do the same thing again and see where it's hitting. Now we're a little farther down the valve. We're about halfway down the seat. We're just a little bit wide yet, so I'm going to cut just a little bit more off that top. I'd like for it to be just a bit narrower than that. Couldn't give you an idea of exactly what I'm after, just how I feel about it. We'll run this around again, get a feel for where it's at. That's a little better. I like that just a little bit better. So there we go. I'm going to do the same thing on the remaining 3. No reason for you to hang around, but I'll keep recording in case something exciting happens. Can't imagine it, but you never know. Put our valve spring seats in here. 1 per valve, none more, none less. There we go. Alrighty, we got us a little screwdriver and a valve seal. And this is a point where I want to put just a touch of oil on there. This is just some Lucas assembly oil. I don't know if it's good, bad, or indifferent, but it is what I have. I'm going to slide these up on my screwdriver and come down and boop them into place. Like that, all 4 are on. Bada bing, bada boom. All right, we're going to slide our intake valves in here. Tell you what, we'll go ahead and do our exhaust valves too. For my next trick, I want to put a rag underneath the head. We're going to try to assemble these a little differently than I normally do. Just wad that up and stick it under to hold the valves in, like so. Then we're going to take this tool and we're going to see if we can do this without a valve spring compressor. I have a valve spring compressor, I just don't know if it's here. I'm going to turn this a little bit because I got to shove down on this pretty hard. My God, look at that, it went in. Ha ha! That is awesome. We got a little water out of our ultrasonic cleaner here. That's pretty amazing, I like that. Let's see, let's go ahead and do the next one. And when I'm doing these, the white goes up because there's more of the spring down below, progressively wound, and we want less of the spring bouncing as much as possible. So the white side of these springs go up, or the painted side. It's not really white, but it is painted nonetheless. I like this thing. See if it was a fluke or if it'll work again. Oh, that was not in yet. That was not in right either. Whew. Let's give it another shot. There we go. I just didn't have the tool quite straight. I'm liking it. Let's give those a little love tap to make sure they're seated. Sounds good to me. Yeah, that's our head done. We do have a freshly bored cylinder as well. And we took this up to Donnell's Motorcycles in Independence, Missouri, and had them bore this, and it's a fine job, and the clearance is fantastic. So, if you're needing something bored, call up to Donnell's Motorcycles. They will let you ship it in, and they will take care of it and ship it back to you. Now, we did have to go with a Wizco piston set, mostly because Honda doesn't make these anymore, the first over ones, or lots of parts of this bike they don't make. They do have the valves, we got those. We couldn't get a cam chain of all things. And so I was a little surprised by that. Before I put my base gasket on, I'm going to put just a little bit of 1207B right across here and across the back one, right at the seams of the crankcase. I just want to make sure those are going to seal up as good as I want them to. And I want them to seal up real good. So we got that put on there. We'll go ahead and put our base gasket on here. This is an aftermarket gasket set because Honda no longer makes a gasket set for this machine. But I did use the stock valve seat seals, or valve seals, and not the ones out of the kit. Now this is my freshly bored cylinder. It's beautiful. And I'm going to take and clean this up a bit before I put it on. Bring you right back. I put just a little bit of engine oil down in here to help these rings kind of seat into place. And then we're just going to set this cylinder down on here. Cylinder goes on this way. Our piston has the arrow towards the exhaust. So all that is pretty fine. And I'm going to slide this cylinder down over here and guide one ring on at a time. Not really sure how I'm going to do this yet. Kind of feeling it out as I go. I'm going to go around the other side and try it from there, and you can watch from this side. This might work better considering I'm pretty darn right-handed. Just kind of give them a loving, gentle squeeze. There we go, just like that. Not too big a deal. Slide that cylinder down over there nice and easy. Let our piston rise to the top. There, the cylinder's on. I think all these bolts are the same length, and they are. All four of them are the same. I'm gonna put just a little bit of engine oil on the threads, and then we'll start them down in there. Put just a little bit of oil on the end of those. And we'll set them back down in there. We're just gonna run these down with the impact, with the ratchet. Then we'll get the torque wrench after it. We're gonna go the first time, we're gonna run these up to 25. That's the foots of pounds. We're gonna do that in a cross pattern, as one might imagine. And the second time around, we're going to take them on up to 40 foot-pounds. There we go. They're all about 40 pounds. We got a cam chain guide that goes in here. And we need to replace our cam chain at some point. This is probably as good a time as any to do that, because we got a brand spanking new one. Now it's not a Honda one, because Honda has discontinued cam chains for this model. So we have I think it's a Pro Cross. Cam chain resides right here. We need to take off a bunch of stuff. We need to take off our pickup, and also the reluctor, the main drive gear, and possibly the oil pump, but I'm not sure about it yet. So we'll start here and work our way in. What size do you think that is? Betting it's way bigger than this. Oh yeah. They had enough juice to get that off there. Wasn't sure it was going to. All right, now the next thing I want to do is I want to find my timing marks on this. That way we'll know how to time this sweetheart back. To me, that's important. Let's see, right about there is top dead center on our piston. I can't quite hold it there. And what do we got for timing marks? We got a mark on our gear right here. I'm not sure what it's supposed to line up with. I guess it really doesn't matter a whole heck of a lot on that gear. Cam gear, sure wished I wouldn't have pulled that off quite so soon. We can figure it out. That means we don't have to pull our pickup sensor off. We can just pull it around this way and voila, cam chain is out. We got ourselves a Pro X cam chain. We'll take a look and see if it's the right one. Let's see here. This is our new one and old one together. And you can see they're pretty close. Yep, it's stretched a little bit. I just feel better putting a new one in it. So that's what I'm doing. Alrighty, cam gear. Looks like there's a little bit of a flattened spline there. Yeah, it'll only go on right there. It went on, there it won't. All right, there's the one that goes on. I'm going to hang my pliers inside that chain so it stays taut. And let's see here. Our gear goes on next. You can see it's missing a spline right there. So it's only going to go on one way too. And what I'm talking about is this spline is crushed a little bit. So it'll only let them go on one way. I had it in the right place. I just didn't get the oil pump gear aligned. There. Oil pump meshes with this so it runs all the time the engine's running. That's always a good thing. And this also is missing a spline. It's going to go on to the same place, just like that. This is a concave washer, and see, it probably says out on one side. Yep, outside. Goes on there, and then this nut does not need any kind of Loctite or anything else. We're going to put it back on here and see if we can find a torque spec on that. If we can't, we're just going to whack it with the Ugga Dugga. I'm pretty sure that'll be the torque spec. Now this is not going to get torqued until we get our clutch put back on, so I can get something in between the teeth. I don't really want to do that to the oil pump gear, because it's probably not as hardened as the rest of these are. So, don't let me forget to tighten it. I'm going to back that way off so I can't forget to tighten it, because that way the cover won't go on if that's that loose. Looks like we need a couple of cam chain guides. Good news, I just happen to have a cam chain guide here. We'll run our chain this way, get our pliers out of it. Kind of big and clunky in there. And this sits down in there just like that. It goes in here, and then it has a place that goes behind the oil, the crankcase, the crank pickup. And it's in both places right there. We'll let that chain over and kind of bind it up there. And then our real other cam chain guide goes in after the head is put on. So that'll put us back to putting the head on. We got our cam chain in. I'm just going to let it fall back in there. And let's go ahead and put our head on. Got our head here, and I have our bolts, including our two guides, two dowel pins. Turn that one over, maybe he'll go in easier. There he goes. Now I'm not treating this as anything because it's a new head gasket. We shouldn't really need any kind of sealer on it. I'll sit down over. There we go. And I think these are different links. Yeah, they're all three different links. Now I can tell because this one's dirty that he lived on the outside here. And I think he should probably have a washer on him too, but I don't see his washer. So I'm going to see if I can find his washer real quick. Found a washer. Get our little thing of oil over here. Dip the threads in the oil. And set that bolt in. And then, let's see. The back one's probably the long one. Seems like that'd make the most sense anyway. Yep. And this will be the next longest one. And this one is the shortest one. By Jove, I think that'll work just fine. As before, we're just going to run these down, and then we'll get... All right. Torque wrench, and let's find out what those are supposed to be squeezed to. It sounds like we're going to go 20 the first time and 30 the second time. And that'll do it for those. Bada bing, bada boom, boom. Those are all in and all tight. Now we can go ahead and put our cam chain guide in over here and get more of that taken care of. And it sets down in here, and then there is a bolt that sets in behind the clutch, and that bolt is right here. So you pull that bolt out, slide all this nonsense on down, and we'll start that bolt back in there. Let me grab a T-handle and we'll torque that with a T-handle. Click. Okay, we got two screws that go in the top. They're 2 6mm bolts. And this thing sets back here like this. It doesn't set way up there. And I'm going to see if I can find them. One of them is a really long one that goes through here, and the other one is a little short guy. I don't think he goes all the way down. This is always the fun part. When you get to this point, you're trying to figure out what bolt goes where. Okay, let's see if this is the right one. I'd say it is. And then see if this is the right one. Nope, he's not. Come on back out, sweetheart. Let's see if this is it. Yep, I'd say it is. They're both about the same height from each other. And we'll go ahead and pull those down. At least quite a ways. I don't know if we're going to go all the way with it, but quite a ways. We're just going to set those down. They are not really torqued yet, but they're probably tight enough that we don't have to give it too much more thought. Next thing we can do is put our cam in place. We need to get our pliers out of the way. See if we can get our cam gear in here. At least somewhat in here. I don't know if we really want it all the way in the chain yet, but let's give that a shot. We're off a ways. Let's twirl it around. Work some slack around that way. See, our top dead center was just a touch that way, so we need to come back one tooth. Right there. So right at the top dead center. Yep, that's close we're going to get. Set our cam in. Now, when we set our cam in, let's see how good a picture we can get of this actual camshaft here. When we set our cam in, you can see that all the lobes are kind of to one side on it because it's a single cylinder. So we're going to put all those down, and that will be on top dead center compression, and we won't be fighting the valves when we're trying to put the top cover on. So that's how we're going to put that in there. And we got a couple of bearings to set in here yet, and also some pins to keep it from sliding sideways. Kind of work our way around here and see if we can get this. Oh, geez. I forgot our cam has to go through here, through the gear. This is probably why we don't want the chain on quite yet. Yeah. I want to bebop that chain back off there. Maybe it'll be easier to do it from this side. Well, I know all you're seeing is my hands, but I kind of need my hands where they're at. There's one side of the cam through the gear. Roll it back around. Push that way. Boom, we got them both through. And that sits in there kind of like that. But we got to put our bearings and stuff on. Kind of like that. Let's go put the bearing on the other side. Put our bearing in over here. Then we have these two pins that sit down in here and hold everything in place. Now, if I remember right, you can't put them in when everything's in place, because that would be too simple. That one's in. They got a little ridge on them, and the bearing kind of holds them in place. So you kind of got to love them down in there a little bit. There he goes. All right, those are both in there. Keep that cam from walking all over the place. Now we'll set it up and try to get our sprocket onto our cam itself. I'm not sure how good this is going to go. We've got a brand spanking new cam chain, and a cam chain tensioner is probably not back completely off. So, and are we on our mark? Because I think we're off a mile. Yeah, we are. Let's take a tooth, put it over here. Nope, that's the wrong way. Back this way. There we go. Another tooth. Yep, another tooth. Yeah, there you go. Kind of got to talk you into it. And, nope, one more, I think. We've done one more, then we'll take a look at it. See what we got. All right, top dead center is actually right about there, and that puts our marks right at head level. So I'm pretty peachy with that one. Now I'm going to go around the other side and stick a screwdriver in there and kind of pop that up on there. Get this cam chain in gear, or sprocket, I guess you might say, up on top. There you go, it's kind of setting up on the ledge. Get the bottom one there. All right, we put our one bolt in here. Thought the camera's on, it wasn't. And you need to make sure these threads are clean, both in the cam and the bolt, and make sure there's no oil on them, and then Loctite them. In this case, we're using the Honda Lock 2HT. I don't know which one you're supposed to use, but we are using that one. I'll grab a wrench and turn the crankshaft around, and then we'll put the other bolt in. Roll that one up, and we'll give it the same treatment we did the other one. And what we're going to do is we're going to find our bolt. We're going to clean it up. And we're going to spray some contact cleaner in that hole right there. Douse it down pretty good, and then give her a shot of air. And then for good measure, we're going to do that again from kind of the other side a little bit. Now we know that's fairly free from any lubricant. And we can go in there and expect good result from our thread lock, actually locking it up. We'll start that bolt in there. Should start pretty good. If everything's lined up reasonably well. There we go. Take our calibrated T-handle. Put that baby in there, and we're just going to snug it up a little bit. Now this one we can go ahead and lock down. So let's find out what torque spec is on that sweetheart. And we'll torque spec the heck out of it. If I have one. If I don't have one, I'm going to make one up. Believe me, I'm not above it. Cam sprocket bolts. Looks like about 13 to 16 foot-pounds. Get my torque wrench set up here. All right. Now we're going to put another T-handle back inside to hold the crankshaft. And then we'll get this on here and we'll torque this down. If I can hold the crank still enough, we'll make this happen. I thought a little more felt better. And turn it on around to the other one. Get our torque wrench on this one. And I torqued it to 18 as well, because that just feels better than 16. Don't know if my feelings are right, but I'm thinking they probably are. All right, I'm going to check my timing one more time. Bring this thing around to top dead center again, which is going to be right about there. And my two marks are lined up with the head. I'll bring you around here and show you that real quick. All right, we bring this thing around to top dead center. And you can see those two marks are lining up with the surface of the head right there. And we are on top dead center down here. So that is the timing we're after. Here is the question. I have the original metal gasket here. Then I have the paper gasket out of the gasket set. Now go down in the comments down there and let me know which one of these would you use. Would you use the paper one? Or would you reuse the metal one? Yep, that's the question. Go down in the comments and leave that down there. While you're down there, go ahead and like and subscribe. Like the video and subscribe to my channel if you're not already subscribed. That'd be great. All right, we got all our bolts put in around here and got our cam cover put on. And which gasket did you decide you would go with? You decided you go with the aftermarket paper one? Well, I didn't. I went with the stock one and I put some copper coat on it to fill up any impurities or imperfections there might be in that surface. And now I'm just going around with a ratchet and pulling all these tight. You can't feel what's going on with the electric ratchet, so never trust one that it bolts tight. Go back and lay hands upon thee and make sure they're all pulled down about right. Now I'm going to grab a different one and we'll pull down our center bolt. This one's important because there's an engine mount right here. So the engine mount to the frame to here, and then it's putting the stress down through the engine, and this bolt takes a considerable amount of that directly down into the head. That's pretty good. All right, we're going 4 and 5. 4 on the intake and 5 on the exhaust. We're gonna go 4 on these back here. And I know this valve is tight because I can't wiggle it. I'll show you better on the exhaust what I'm doing here, if you're curious how the valve adjustment works. We're going to leave that in there about there. Grab our wrench, set it on there, put our screwdriver back on to hold that adjuster where we want it. And then we'll tighten this up and see what we got. That's pretty good, but this is really, you really need a bendy feeler gauge. We'll make one. It really doesn't feel too bad. So we're going to leave that one alone. I'm going to go do the other intake while I've got this feeler gauge out. We're going to loosen this off with a wrench. And we're going to back this up just a touch. Stick our feeler gauge in here. And then we'll turn this until I feel resistance. And I know that resistance to get down against the feeler gauge. And I'm going to leave it just a touch tight, because when I tighten this nut, it's going to back this adjuster up just a little bit on the threads. All right, now we see what we got. I like that pretty good. Feel the drag on it just about right. Pretty good, but I'm still going to call that just a touch loose. So we'll do it again. You know what happened now? It's going to be too tight. That's right. I like that. It's pushing on it before it starts sliding through. There's a nice drag on it, and it feels good. That'll do that, and that'll get all 4 of our valves set. Yep. All 4 valves adjusted really swell-like. Now I'll adjust these again after I run this for probably 4 or 5 hours, a good day's worth of riding. Then I'll go in and readjust the valves on it. So this is pretty much a preliminary setting. We'll come back and do it again. Alrighty, up next we got our 4 O-rings, and they go on our little covers right here. Now if you don't have new O-rings and you're going back together this and you can't find any, take these out and flip them over and then put them back in. That makes them seal again for a little while. We're going to pick and go after this a little bit better. Pop these O-rings out of there. Shoop. Set a new one in. And there you go. Oh, even a blind squirrel finds a nut now and then. There we go. Do not over tighten these. All you gotta do is break them. So snug them down, and whenever you feel the resistance that is stopping, stop. Don't keep cranking on them. All right, we got a pan. We put just maybe a ½ inch of oil or so in it. And we're going to soak these plates overnight. And we do have genuine Honda 22201 KAE 000. And if you knew what KAE was, you would know what first model these were used in by the Honda part number. We're just going to stick them in the oil and we're going to let them soak. I'm going to get these down so they're in the oil, or at least coated the first time. And that's how they're going to set overnight. All right, we're going to continue on with our clutch here. Remember, this isn't tight. We got to keep that in mind. We'll put our outer clutch basket on. Our spacer's already on here. So we'll put this one on. It's got to line up with this gear and also the kickstart gear on the back side. There's seating all the way back. Put that big washer in there. We'll start with a fiber here. Then we'll go with the steel. I don't care which way the steel is pressed. I don't give two toots to which side's got the sharp edge and which one has the dull edge and all that stuff. But we're just going to keep assembling here. These all check to be flat. Even though they're a little bit burnt, I do have new clutch fibers because the other ones just weren't going to survive another round or two. And we just go putting one on and then the other one on all the way out. And then with any luck, we'll have the right amount. Oh, our last fiber. That's good. Now we'll do our best to kind of line all these up. Shoop. And like that. We'll grab them over here. Grab them over here again. Kind of get them all somewhat lined up. Then we're going to set this on the back of this, just kind of hold everything in place. And then we're going to assemble this all together as one. I'm just going to grab a hold right here and hold on to it and kind of wiggle and poke and prod as I put this into place. And with any luck, and I mean any luck, we'll get this to set in. Now I didn't put my screws and springs in here because I need to be able to finagle this around as I'm going together. And she will need a bit of finagling. Now it feels like our inner is not quite lining up the splines on the shaft. So we'll love on that just a little bit. There we go. Now it's sliding on. And we'll keep working our outer plates into place as we go. And one more. It's almost there. All right. That is there. We'll put a washer on there. We got a brand spanking new nut here. We'll put it on. Now this edge goes out because this is a stake edge. You're going to stake that whenever you're done. So that edge goes out. We'll see if we can get this to start on the shaft here. Yeah, a little right on the struggle bus to get that to start. We'll bring that down a little bit, and then let me find the tool that we need to tighten that up. Wonder why those are out. All right, we got this properly torqued down. Now we're going to stake it. To stake it, I'm going to take a straight screwdriver. In this case, I might even use a Phillips. Nope. Let me grab a proper screwdriver for this. And we're going to stake this down. There is a divot in the shaft right here. And we're going to take and line it up with that. And we're going to tap this in. Better than that. One more time. That's a proper staking. Ooh. Now some of this stuff, never, ever trust a tool you can't feel torque with. And I like that pretty good. That goes in there. This is our pressure plate, and it pushes on the inside. The clutch gets slack. You shift gears, you let out, it locks back up, and away you go. Get our rag out of our gear there. We got to torque this down too. We'll find out what it torques to real quick, and we'll give that a proper torquing as well. All right, we pulled the clutch back off, and we got this torqued down, and we torqued it down to the proper 49 foot-pounds. We got it back together. Thought the camera's on, it wasn't. Story of my life trying to make videos. You got to have the camera on in order to make videos. All right, that's together. We need to check our timing on our Kickstarter shaft. So I'm going to pull just this part off and see exactly where we lay. There's a mark right there, and that's lined up with a mark on the shaft. Which is going to be not that one, but that one. Like so. Then we got to put our cover on. We got to watch our decompressor as well. First we need a gasket. Just happen to have one. And we'll get it on over their studs there. And like that. Now, as we slide this together, we've got to keep this decompressor turned around like this. And it's under spring pressure. So I'm going to hold that and try to guide all this on at the same time. Get our oil line out of the way there. Get our oil line out of there again. There we go. Such as that. Now that should be in the right place to pull whenever it comes time to actually work the decompressor. This works the cable that goes up to the decomp. So we'll get our cover bolted on, then we'll figure out what we did wrong and take it back off at least twice. Wrong way, right way. I think that felt pretty good. And let me grab a ratchet and we'll torque those on down. You didn't really think I was going to torque case bolts, did you? All right, probably should. Tighten up our two studs. Our nuts on our studs. Dang, we completely missed that one. I mean, 100%. How is that possible? All right, and I think I'll just do a quick zip around these to make sure I got them all. Considering we completely missed one with two tools. Yep, pretty satisfied with that. I think I have a new oil filter for this. Spring goes in there. Let me grab a oil filter, and I think I have new O-rings for that cover, and takes it out of very carefully in case this is not that O-ring. It is that O-ring, so that's pretty good. Sure like it when stuff like that works. Let me find an oil filter. What kind of oil filter we're going to use? Why, wouldn't you know? It's a Honda 15412 HM5A10. Should not be a big glaring surprise by now. Probably should have took our mounting bolts out before I put that oil filter in there. But we'll make do with what we got. Use these kind of as an alignment. Get it about where we want it. Love it on there just a touch. There we go. 8 millimeters would be good. We got 10, we got an 8. There we go. before I tighten that down. I'm going to give it just a tap to seat that in around that guide. Seems pretty good. Yeah, I think that'll do. Just go in here. This is the main oil galley for the head. And it also feeds the transmission shaft over on the other side. So we're just going to start that loosely. Then we're going to go to the other side and start the transmission one. There we go. Remember, these are banjo bolts. They do not need to be excruciatingly tight. They just need to crush those washers a bit and seal. We'll do the one on the transmission over here. I think first we want to set our carburetor back in place, and we want to get, this is our intake manifold, and the pre-96 ones use just an oval O-ring. 96 and newer use a funky shape O-ring, XR250Rs. So we'll put that new O-ring in there. Now I'm going to go around the other side and slide this in place. First thing I'm going to do is start it on the carburetor. Then I'll manipulate this into place like that. Click. We'll be done. Carburetor is not slid all the way in. There we go. I'm not applying much pressure. I am just applying a little bit of force to get her to seat in like that. See, we have a pretty good Phillips screwdriver right here. We got to fix what we can. When I was a kid, my dad told me, if you're going to own something, you really should be able to fix it. Now, back then, we didn't have all the computer control stuff that we have now. So I'm not sure how he would feel about all that, about everything being computer controlled. But we're just going to finish tightening these up. I think most of you can imagine what it's like to tighten a bolt. You just want to pull these up nice and even. That'll do. All right, we got our decomp stuff done. Go ahead and set up our clutch cable, get it hooked back up. Seems kind of important. Goes in there like that, and then we got to go all the way around the world. I think what we'll do, let's grab the old lever here with a pair of pliers. Careful not to get the spring. And then we can go like this. Turn this thing all the way around to the back side. Try to get our boot to stay down. There we go. Not too bad. Oh. Let's see if it moves and I'll pull the clutch in. Gracie come to see us. And look, she brought us a cookie. Maybe. Is that a cookie?
It's a sugar cookie.
It's not a chocolate chip cookie?
We didn't have any chocolate chips.
Oh, man. Well, I'll take what you got. Thank you. I'll put a little grease off my fingers on it. Cool. Thank you very much. Now you may ask, what kind of oil are we going to put in this freshly rebuilt Honda top end? Why, we're putting Honda oil in it, of course. They ought to know how to make oil for it. Now, let's see what our dipstick says. We're at the very bottom of the stick. We'll give it another couple glubs. I'd say that probably ought to do it. We still have to fill up our oil filter and stuff yet. So, we'll put that in there. And then we'll recheck our Earl. Hopefully we're right above the full line. And we're just right below the full line. Wipe her off, give her the dip without the screwing. And we're right above the full line. Right there. So, that ought to take care of that. Got our full of Honda oil. This engine is back together, guys. I'm pretty happy about it. Tell you what, let's put the gas tank on and the seat on, and we'll see if this thing starts up, and that'll wrap this thing up for this video. Let me back you up just a touch. Back you up, raise you up. And we're going to put a gas tank on this sweetheart. I think I remember where I put the gas tank. I think it's over here somewhere. Let me let Wine Dog in. Where is the gas tank? Where is the gas tank? Okay, got it located. Get the screws out of the front mounts. The only screws that are mounts. Now we're getting closer. So you can get a bolt to start up here. Got the one on the other side started. Get the one on this side. Oh goodness, that's what's going on here. Got our cable caught. I'm gonna take this bolt back out. You can't be having that nonsense. There we go. Sets up something like that. You know, I'd like to get graphics for this thing, but the Honda graphics are discontinued and none of the rest of them ever stick on right. The gas permeating through the plastic takes them off. So, not sure if that's going to be a good spiffing up project or not. I'm going to tighten up the mount on this side. Of course, Honda's discontinued a lot of parts for this bike. Couldn't get a cam chain. Not from Honda, not from most of the aftermarket suppliers to the dealer. I did find one, a Procross one, which is still made in Japan, over in on the Evil Bay. I was really happy to get that, so that's something. Hook the hooker back here in the back. Got it. Woo! That was a project. Glad I had my arm in the way the whole time, aren't you? All right. Hook up our fuel line. There we go. Turn the fuel on. Still got an air filter in this thing? Oh yeah. Get our seat put back on. Oh, you know what? We can't put this on yet. We still got to put our air box back in. I've got to bolt it back in. Jeepers, almost forgot. All right, let's see if this thing will run. Hoot-de-doo. Hoot-de-doo. Chokey dokey. Ooh, there's a chance. More choke. There we go. Heck, it even idles. Yeah, that'll do. That'll do just fine. I am happy. Turn my gas off. Well, guys, as far as the engine goes, that's going to wrap this up. Now, I'm not sure exactly how much money I have in this thing. I got a lot of Honda parts into it. Honda did not make a first over piston for this thing, so we had to go Wiseco on that for the piston kit. So that's what's in here. Honda did not make the cam chain. It's an aftermarket cam chain, and they also don't make a gasket kit for it anymore. So we got an aftermarket gasket set. Now, we bought the best we could, but it's not Honda. Everything we could buy Honda, we did buy. Clutch plates, springs, clutch cover gasket, valves, valve seals, all that stuff, it's all Honda. So we went as Honda as we could, but sometimes we got to resort to some of the aftermarket stuff. Hey guys, thank you for watching. Subscribe if you would. Like the video. Doesn't cost you anything and it really helps me out. So until next time, God bless.